I talked about this clip in an earlier segment, but I want to give it its own space. Ben Shapiro calls Candace Owens' behavior disgraceful. And a lot of people are now saying trouble in paradise. The Daily Wire are all fighting amongst themselves. And you know what I say? I say, oh, I respect it. I think it's fine that Ben Shapiro is going to argue with Candace Owens. I don't think this will abruptly end their business relationship. That's just about it. And it's not even the first time Candace Owens has been at odds with people with her colleagues, the Daily Wire. So it is what it is. It is not entirely the same as someone like Ethan Klein threatening to cancel his show or walk off the show because the left is calling him a Zionist pig or something like this. This is a bit different. But first, I think we have the clip here of Ben Shapiro. I want to play for you so you can hear what Ben Shapiro says of Candace Owens. And then I'm going to play for you what Candace Owens says, and you decide who is disgraceful. What do we got? Here we go.
Candace Owens. I think her behavior during this has been disgraceful. Without a doubt. I think it's absolutely Yeah, I mean, she still works for my company. And I think she's been absolutely disgraceful. I think that her faux sophistication on these particular issues has been ridiculous. It's not faux sophistication, it's ridiculous. Everybody can see the moves that she's making and the things that she's saying, and I find them disreputable.
Here's what I'll say of Ben Shapiro when he says she's being disgraceful and it's faux sophistication, etc., etc. If you're not getting a lot of ideas, like what's faux, like what are you talking about, Ben? What are you talking about? I think that if you were to ask Ben to elaborate, he would do just that, and he would give you a well thought out and logical answer. That's Ben. So there were some people who were asking, like, you know, Ben said this, but like he's ignoring these things. Like he says, Vivek Ramaswamy has no plans. This is someone asked us last night on the IRL members only that Vivek has no plans, even though he does and says his plans. I'm like, well, if Ben's opinion is that Vivek's plans are not feasible, then he's just simplifying it by saying he has no plans. I genuinely believe if you say, Ben, what do you mean? Like, elaborate on what Candace Owens is saying that you find to be disgraceful. He will absolutely break it down for you. He's not a stupid guy, okay? However, many people are wondering what is disgraceful and what did Candace Owens actually say? In this clip from her show, Candace Owens breaks down her position on Israel, and I give it to you now.
There are a lot of people in America that are sitting here going, okay, well, can you answer why Jews are so special? Because as white people in this country on university campuses, we are being taught that we are not allowed to have a voice. We have had to endure exactly what you're talking about, BLM. We've endured much worse than you have because it's in the actual textbooks. We are being told that we are systematically racist, that we are born wrong because of the color of our skin. And if we say anything, we'll lose everything. This is the typical experience on white campuses. So people, this is not whataboutism. This is like actually what we have been fighting for years. So it sort of arrived as, I think, for a lot of Americans, a surprise when they're saying, well, now that it's about Israel, which is something that's overseas, we need to, hand these university professors, we need to do something about this issue. Why weren't we trying to correct course on this issue? Why weren't donors pulling their funding out of these universities? Why weren't these same things being said for these last, I would say, 8 years of rampant BLM, white man can't do anything right, actively being taught in the classrooms? So there are people that are asking that question. Now, what I have said is that explicit calls for genocide, which was stunning to me to see that in Congress, are completely wrong. It is frankly crazy. I have not weighed in on the IDF's response in the same way that I have consistently said through every war, Ukraine and Russia, I don't want to be involved. I have said I don't want to be involved in Israel and Palestine, all these conflicts. My consistency seems to offend people, right? But I haven't made a single tweet or a single comment on IDF's response in Palestine. I haven't said a single thing about that. I have said it is always sad when a child dies. And the lack of humanity that I have seen from both sides has been very troubling for me. But to say that I have to weigh in and suddenly wave an Israeli flag and say things that, because you decide that you get to use my platform because it's personal to you, how is that fair to people?
I think Candace Owens is great. I completely agree with her, right? So here's the issue. Candace says first, we've got universities in the United States that are teaching people that white people are bad. Okay, that's something directly right here at home. So a lot of people are saying it's anti-Semitic or you're critical of Jews and all these things when it comes to Israel. Outside of any political argument on morality between Israel and Palestine, the point is, I think the point that Candace is making is that why aren't we more concerned about the absolute racism here in our universities. Okay, that's her point. Like, I'm more concerned with that. I think, I can't speak for Candace, I don't know what she's saying. My attitude is, care about whatever you want to care about, man. You're allowed to do it. I understand and respect Ben Shapiro's position, considering that he's got family there and it's like directly affecting him. That's his world. That's why he believes it. Well, okay. I will argue where I think he's wrong when I think he's wrong. I said this before. Ben said, if the U.S. does not intervene, it could lead to an escalating conflict that results in Israel using nuclear weapons, which could potentially destroy the world. The issue being, if Israel says, I will not be destroyed, we will not be destroyed, and then retaliates with an escalation of force, it one by one pulls in a bunch of other countries, destabilizing the region and then the planet. My argument is I think the U.S. getting involved actually does that specifically. So I don't know if there's a good answer there. But, you know, I got no problem saying I disagree where I disagree. But Candace Owens makes another really great point. I'm right here with her. I got to be honest. I've said something similar. I don't want to be involved in Ukraine. I don't want to be involved in Israel. The U.S. should secure its borders, bring back jobs, start working on repairing its culture, and focus on America first. And they say, oh, that's racist. America first. Shut up. I don't care. You're not going to explain to me why I'm paying so much in taxes, and I do, for war, and you too. You know, I got to tell you, there was this football player who posted his pay per game, like how much money he gets every game he plays, and it was like $300,000, and he gives like 150 of it to the government. Yep. Yo, people need to understand the amount of money that you pay in taxes, the higher brackets, is insane. Don't get me wrong. You know, when you're rich, and you worry less about it, but it still is crazy to see how much money you give to the government for this war. Candace says, I didn't comment on Israel's reaction or anything like that. I feel like I'm in a similar position. I'm not sitting here saying like Israel is committing genocide, blah, 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 it's bad, and Hamas did this. I'm mostly, critical of Hamas and more defensive of Israel, while still recognizing, dude, this could escalate into something very, very dangerous. I'm not going to get into the morality of war, right? My position is basically just because Israel is more powerful doesn't make them immoral or wrong. When the amount of people who die doesn't mean anything in and of itself. The left, I get these leftists who make this argument. They were like, Israel has killed more people than Gaza. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like when, how, why do people die? Because you're not going to come to me and say that like a mass shooter was killed and then complain the police killed a guy. It's like, wait, hold on. Like the mass shooter was killing people. And that's the argument. Hamas kills a bunch of people. And then what happens is Israel will kill a bunch of these Hamas guys. And then you'll hear leftists say 10 people were just killed in an airstrike. Well, hold on. We're talking about civilians. We're talking about kids. That matters. You can't just throw numbers at me. I don't like what's happening. I don't like what Hamas does. I don't like the bombing of residential areas for the sake of getting Hamas targets, which kill civilians. But you know what, man? I got a much simpler answer for you. I ain't Israel. I am but a humble dude in the United States complaining on the internet. I don't know why. I mean, no, I get it. I get what the government is doing. I get what the deep state is doing. I get why they fund this. But I don't want to be. And I don't think you want to be either. And I think that's Candace Owens' point. Now, Ben Shapiro says that what she said is absolutely disgraceful and it's faux sophistication. I think he's probably more referring to calling what's going on a genocide or saying that someone called for genocide. I'm like, that's like, it's such a bold and powerful statement. But there was someone in Congress who basically talked about just wiping out Gaza. Look, man, it really comes down to this. Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens debating and arguing is one of the best possible things for the Daily Wire. It shows a diversity of opinions within the company. It creates a massive press cycle for the Daily Wire. It generates attention, and that's just it. Healthy debate and criticism between their personalities ultimately benefits the brand tremendously. The people who are pro-Israel are going to be like, Ben's the man, and I want to watch Ben Shapiro. And the people who don't like Ben Shapiro and are America First are going to be like Candace Owens. You see what the Daily Wire does? This is called winning. No, I mean it. If the purpose of everything we do is so that people have the right to express their opinions, that means Ben has every right to criticize Candace Owens, and Candace Owens has every right to make the statements she's making that Ben doesn't like. And the Daily Wire will benefit from it. And I hope they do. Similarly here, it's really funny. Like, people are critical of some of the people who work here at Timcast who are, critical of Israel. I talk about Cassandra quite a bit because she tweets up a lot. And I'm like, well, she has her opinions, man. Go for it. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Of course, no one's freaking out being like, Cassandra Fairbanks is tweeting at Israel. I guess it's because I'm not like Ben. I'm not as zealous as it pertains to to Israel or whatever. I'm mostly just America first, freedom, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and all of these things. So I'm not going to get into a fight with anybody. And usually when it does, I choose my battles, right? If anybody here at the company was saying things that I thought were egregious or disgraceful, I would just go to them and say, like, here's what I think. What do you think? It's happened before. No one's gotten fired over it. We've had people post stuff and I'm like, I think it was tactless. I think you can do better. And here are the issues with what you posted. But, I'm not going to tell you what to post. We do not have a policy here at Timcast restricting our employees from what they can or cannot say. That's just it. And to our own detriment. You know what I mean? It is what it is. I'll be critical of whoever I want to be critical of. There are people who tell me not to criticize certain people because maybe they won't come on the show. And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, man. It's never going to happen. If someone's acting a fool and I get passionate and I say something about them, they don't have to come on the show. It is what it is. I said it before. I'll say it again. I got no problem getting my van and going living down by the river. If people don't want to talk to me because I'm critical of them, so be it. Let's have real conversations. Let's address what's really going on. I got no beef. I respect Ben Shapiro's position. I don't agree with it to a great degree. I'm sure we actually agree on some of it. I don't want to speak because I've not actually had an in-depth conversation with him about it. But what Candace Owens says right here, I actually agree with completely. So, hey, it is what it is. Shout out to the Daily Wire crew. I'm a big fan. I think they do great work. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up tonight at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.